It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, the league has fined the Atlanta Falcons $250,000 and Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich $100,000 in response to the prank call made by Ulbrich's son on draft night to Browns fifth-round pick Shedeur Sanders. In other NFL news, the Baltimore Ravens have picked up the fifth-year option on safety Kyle Hamilton and declined the fifth-year option on center Tyler Lindenbaum. Hamilton, a 2022 first-round pick, was a first-team All-Pro selection in 2023 and has made the Pro Bowl in each of the last two seasons. In NSC news, the team has promoted Mike Jacobs to president of soccer operations to go along with his title of general manager and extended his contract through 2028. Jacobs has been the GM of the club since 2018 before NSC's move from USL to MLS play and is now the first president of soccer operation in the club's history. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll have Jordan DeJanie coming up at 1:20 to go around the NFL, catch up with him about everything that happened in the NFL draft. And tune into the 5 o'clock hour of 3HL later today, where they're going to be live from the Big Orange Caravan from Geodis Park, where they'll be joined by Mike Keith, Danny White, Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, Kim Caldwell, all in the 5 o'clock hour, all crammed in there.
You said Heupel, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sure I missed.
I mean, that's an extensive list. I was like, hey, are they all going to be on at the same time? It's a 10-minute rotation. But I'm like, man, Mike Keith, Danny White, Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, and Kim Caldwell.
Big head honchos right there.
I know. I asked you off air, Blaine, and we kind of stumbled on into a different kind of topic. We were talking about the topic that we've discussed but haven't discussed. We discussed whether or not, if we were in Cam Ward's shoe, would we go after or ask about to wear the number one?
Yeah, you brought a great
jersey
question before anybody was even talking about it.
Yeah, and so we brought that up. We talked about it, and we said we wouldn't really do it. Yeah. Because that's just, you already have so much pressure and you already have so much expectations to live up.
I said I want to set my own legacy with my own number.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He ended up getting it. He apparently asked a month ago. I don't know if you caught that, but he asked a month ago.
He called him or something. So I wonder how he got his number.
Yeah, that is true. And Warren Moon made a great speech. He talked about, he said that, hey, this is going to be, that nobody's wearing the Oilers number one, which then sparked that apparently the Oilers, we're going to get new jerseys heading to the stadium, but apparently the Oilers jerseys probably never going to be worn for now, I guess, at least the Houston Oilers. But we stumbled upon a good question, and this is a question I want to propose to the audience. Should the NFL even be in the business of retiring jersey numbers? There's 53 players on an active roster. Not to mention the 90 that are, going through, practice squads and all that kind of stuff in the offseason on 32 different teams. You have 0 to 99. That doesn't leave you a lot of flexibility if you start retiring numbers. The New York Giants have 18 jersey numbers retired in their history.
Yeah, because we went through neighbors asked for number one, a guy I'd never heard of.
From Ray Flaherty.
And it's brought about Abdul Carter asked about, I don't know why he would want Lawrence Taylor's number. That may be one of he's top 5 great players of all time.
I guess maybe he was scared to ask Phil Sims because Phil Sims has 11.
Yeah, Super Bowls there. No, to me, you can honor a player, but you don't have to retire the jersey number. They could be in the Ring of Honor, but I just don't know if that should be a thing of business. Yeah, in the pros. And that's bad to say because, there are some guys you feel like, oh, man, they were just such, elite players. And they're all Hall of Fame players.
Statues, busts.
Right. I just don't know because of the limitations on the numbers. And they are opening it up now. They're letting people wear 0, and maybe they'll go 00 and all this other stuff. But so that's what prompted us to have this discussion. I don't know what's right or wrong, but just me personally, I wouldn't be asking for a Hall of Fame's jersey number.
Yeah.
I want to set my own legacy at my own time. And he had another number he wore, but hey, he asked and he got it. So all you can do, is ask. You just never know.
It's kind of like trying to get a date, say the worst thing that can. I was always told growing up, my parents would always say, if I was a little nervous or something, they would always say, the worst she can do is say no.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of the approach that he took it. And so, listen.
It seems like his personality, like he's not scared to pretty much anything. It is what it is. Hey, he's kind of that guy, which is kind of cool in the same sense.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, I was like, okay, well, he did it a month ago. So obviously that also kind of lets you know that a month ago he knew he was going to be the pick. You know what I'm saying? But I thought what Warren Moon said about what when he got to know Cam Ward is how he informed his decision. Like that, it wasn't just like, hey, this guy's calling and asking. It was like, okay, this guy's calling and asking, let me dig into him. Let me figure out more about Cam Ward. Because, Cam Ward and him are from the kind of, I think, the same area of Texas and all this kind of stuff. So I really don't have a dog in the fight, to be honest with you. That's between them two and all this kind of stuff. But if I was Cam Ward, I am with you. I would like to start my own legacy.
Yeah.
And I
even
feel,
though it was kind of with a different team name, it's the same organization. I get how some fans feel, that was with the Oilers. This will be with the Titans. And I kind of understand that too. But if I was sitting in his shoes being the number one pick, and maybe that's why he was the number one pick, he wore number one, maybe he wants to continue that trend. Maybe it's a lucky number in his eyes, but he wore, different numbers. So, it's to each his own, though. But, man, I wouldn't ask for it. Not me personally.
Yeah, and I'm with you. This isn't like a basketball team where there's a limited number of a smaller number of players on an active roster. So you have typically a wider variety of numbers to choose from on a basketball team because there's only so many basketball players on the team at a given point. Here in the NFL, when you have, again, 53 players and you go from 0 to 99, that's 100 numbers, right, to choose from. Well, over half are going to be taken. And if you have a high number retired, high amount of jersey numbers retired, well, then you're eliminating more. Like the New York Giants, you have 53 players, 18 are already retired. So you will have a limited amount of numbers to choose from. So I'm kind of with you in the sense of, again, not a big deal, but at the end of the day, I just don't think it's necessary in the NFL.
Does it really matter that it was with a different team name and the team moved and then it became Titans and a different name, so kind of a different history and legacy starts? But he still had to ask him. Now, if he didn't have to ask him because it's the Tennessee Titans, not the Houston Oilers,
Warren Moon seemed to make that distinction, but here's where I'm at on that.
What do you think?
To me, the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Oilers are one and the same. We can't sit here and make fun of the Texans and get in the fights and arguments with the Texans about us controlling the Houston Oilers' rights and all this kind of stuff. Like, you guys gave this up when you guys didn't want to fund the new stadium. The Houston Oilers' legacy is our legacy. And all that kind of stuff. You can't be all that, then say that these are two different franchises. That, to me...
But the fans will.
Well, the fans will. I mean, I guess you can. You just shouldn't. Right. You can. You can say it. You just shouldn't do it.
Yeah, because it's one and the same. But, is there some form of... Have they ever resolved the University of Houston, right? They wore Oilers.
Yeah, apparently the Titans or the NFL got involved in that, and I'm sure the NFL owns the rights to the colors in some form or fashion with manufacturing companies like the Hex Code,
right,
and all that kind of stuff. And I would assume that's why the NFL got involved in all that. I wouldn't care. I mean, because I mean, it is a Texas color technically, and it's a different sport. Like, I don't care that the University of Houston Cougars want to do it. And those jerseys looked really good. I remember as Patrick Paul, when I was following his journey he was a right tackle that is down at, or a tackle that is down in Miami now. But I wanted the Tennessee Titans to draft him last year, and the pictures always found and used when I wrote articles and stuff was the Houston Oiler blue color. I mean, I guess they call it, I can't remember what color blue they call it, but it was.
They say it's the state's colors.
Yeah. So, like, to me.
That's what they say.
But if you're in the NFL and you have the same, you can't use the same colors. Like, that's just kind of where I differentiate it for myself.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. So, hey, but Warren Moon gave him the A-OK, so let the pressure and fun begin.
Yeah. What you got, Jackson?
They named it Houston Blue.
Was it just Houston Blue? I thought it was something different. Where are you at on the NFL and retired jerseys?
I think I'm probably too young to have a stance. I think it's going to be really cool to see Cam Ward wear number 1. It's a jersey number we haven't really seen.
It's an ugly number on this with the font. The font on this jersey. It's an ugly one. Like, I mean, it does not look good in general, just to be objective about it.
I agree with you. I think there is some unnecessary pressure that is put on Cam Ward because he's unretiring a retire. Like, if one wasn't retired, obviously this isn't a conversation.
Right.
But how much more pressure is it? He was the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and that's why it's kind of negligible. So, like, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's something to talk about.
I don't think he's under more pressure, by the way. I think the fans are putting him under more pressure.
Because
he's wearing the one.
Okay.
Especially probably the older fans that, said he shouldn't unretire the number, right? Especially those that are against it. Those that are for it probably don't really care. I mean, they're not adding extra pressure on top of it. But the ones who are against this, they're going to be very vocal. They were always going to be vocal, but now this is an extra layer. The volume got turned up from 10 to 11.
Do you guys change your mind on giving up the number 1 by Warren Moon if you knew someone else asked for number 1? AJ Brown did, by the way. For you guys who don't know.
I don't think I recall that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did
See?
in 2019, his rookie year.
And he didn't
too.
give it to him because he wasn't the number 1 pick.
That's true.
He wasn't a quarterback. But see, it's been done before, asking for that number. So that's the question I would ask Warren Moon.
Is why did you do it for Cam? Well, he did kind of explain it. So maybe people. Well, he was talking about, Cam Ward, it's important. He's number 1 overall pick. He's a quarterback. I see myself in him, stuff like that. But I do think a follow-up question should have been asked. So what's the difference? What is the real difference between A.J. Brown and this? And I wonder if it's because he knew that the throwback possibilities were on the horizon for the Tennessee Titans. Because it seems to me that if the Tennessee Titans, and listen, remember a couple of months ago, Tennessee Titans announced they weren't wearing
It's going to be
Oilers jerseys.
It's going to be different throwbacks.
It could be.
Maybe Tennessee Titans type throwbacks?
Maybe
the ones I wore.
Yeah, maybe the ones you wore. Which seems really weird that those are now
Bring
throwbacks,
back the
by the
Puma
way.
jerseys.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe.
So, but I do think that it is interesting that they, about a month and a half ago, they decided they weren't going to wear these. Remember, they made the announcement they weren't going to wear them.
I thought that was interesting.
And then now this happened, and he basically said, he told everybody in the press pool that they're getting new jerseys, and basically the Oilers jerseys will not be back. Does not mean the Oilers color scheme won't be back, but the Houston Oilers throwbacks does not sound like they'll be back in the immediate future.
Yeah.
Do you find it disrespectful? I've seen a lot of people throw that word around. That Cam Ward even asked. Do you find that disrespectful at all?
No, I don't. I mean, if you want to do something, all you can do is ask what you say. Well, all you can do is say no. I get why some people would think that way. But it depends on the actual player. And if he thinks it's okay, maybe he wants to see his number out there running around and make him feel like, dang, man.
Maybe.
Dang, number 1 is still running around out here. this is pretty
Because
cool.
the last number one everybody saw was Gary Anderson. So, like,
So it's been done before?
It's been done before. But that's technically before he retired the number.
Right.
So, but, that was the last number one. The last player to wear number one was Gary Anderson. So maybe he wants, a little bit of a refresh, a little bit of an update. Yeah. It's kind of like rebooting an old show. Or rebooting an old movie and redoing the movie and bringing it back. When we come back, we'll be with Jordan DeJanie of CBS Sports. We'll go around the NFL with him. We'll also get to your phone calls as well. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're going to go to Jordan DeJanie of CBS Sports.
But are we gonna ask Jason to let him ask?
Okay,
we're gonna ask the first question.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to let Jason ask. Jason, I'm going to put you on first. You called. Your question is going to go straight to Jordan DeJanie when we bring him on. So what is your question, Jason?
Well, I just so much have a question. I just wanted to say, man, they talk about all this jersey talk. Maybe we'll finally see that them red jerseys come out, and then I wanted to say also, Cam on Cam, man. That's gonna be the hit, man. You got a guy with the name Cam. You're gonna have that camera on him all the time.
Oh, I got you.
He's gonna be on the spot.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Jason.
Have a good one.
The famous red jerseys, for sure. Jordan DeJanie of CBS Sports joins us right now. Jordan, your thoughts on the unretiring of Warren Moon's number for Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick of the Tennessee Titans?
What's going on, friends? Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to break down the exciting NFL draft with you guys. I guess I was a little bit surprised. I'm always a little bit surprised when some of the newer players approach NFL legends and ask for permission to wear the retired jersey numbers. We know that Abdul Carter did not get a gracious answer with the New York Giants, but Cam Ward thankfully got a great one from Warren Moon. I thought that Warren Moon made a great point when he talked about how, I was the legendary number 1 with the Oilers, but with the Titans, we can kind of begin a new era, as he put it, with Cam Ward coming in to be the prospective franchise signal caller. So Warren Moon, I think, even admitted that other players have gone up to him and asked to wear that number. I think A.J. Brown might have been one, as Blaine Bishop brought up, but Cam Ward kind of fits the bill as this reason for new hope in Music City with a prospective franchise quarterback.
I guess I want to start with this, with the Shedeur Sanders fall. You got the prank call, a lot of drama around him. What would your dad have done if you would have cost him $100,000?
Yeah, he would have put me in the hospital real quick. I mean, that's unbelievable. I'm sure I wasn't the greatest son in the world, but thankfully I never cost my father $100,000 and forced him to make public statements for something embarrassing that I did. I don't understand what's going on with all these prank calls in the NFL. It seems like a trend that I became aware of last year with Cooper DeJean of the Philadelphia Eagles, actually. But this year, it was unreal, man. Shedeur Sanders, Josh Connerly, Isaiah Bond, Tyler Warren, Kyle McCord, Mason Graham, Chase Luntz. Those are just some of the names that received some of these prank calls in the NFL. And again, these numbers for at least some of these prospects are not like public. Like Shedeur Sanders, for example, he had a new phone number for that draft call that was in the NFL system. But of course, Jax Ulbrich was able to get that number from a team iPad. But how else are all these other random people getting these phone numbers of these prospects? So in my opinion, I will look back at the 2025 NFL draft, remembering the fall of Shedeur Sanders, but it was also the NFL draft of the prank call, if you will.
I mean, what happened? Why are people picking on Chase Lunt and he's from UConn and he's an offensive tackle? Why lay off some of these people? Looking at Shedeur Sanders' fall, I mean, we talked in a great detail about it yesterday. Me and Blaine did. But, what are your thoughts on the Shedeur Sanders fall, and where do you land on his actual landing spot with the Cleveland Browns? Because I'm not convinced that's the best spot for him.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see anything like this again, to be completely honest with you. I mean, a high-profile prospect regarded as a top quarterback in this class ends up being the 6th quarterback taken while falling to the 5th round. And, I mean, you guys have probably talked about it, but I think that Shedeur Sanders completely bombed the pre-draft process. And you heard the rumors about the bad interviews, but on top of that, no Senior Bowl practice, no combine activity, no Shrine Bowl practices either. And, according to reports, he kind of conducted himself as he was this unquestioned top dog in the class that any team would be lucky to have. And that obviously wasn't the case. And I will say this too, there's no collusion aspect of this to me, because if Shedeur Sanders was viewed as this incredibly super talented prospect, he would have been drafted day 2 point blank. But instead of being optimistic about the prospects, the negatives seem to overrule everything. And he was even reportedly taken off some teams' draft boards entirely. So him falling as far as he did shows you how much teams did not want what comes with Shedeur. But the good news is that he can change the narrative. He's just beginning his professional career. And again, it doesn't really matter what round you were drafted in. He ends up with the Cleveland Browns, who were a favored landing spot all along. And if he's a top quarterback in this class, he's going to have the opportunity to prove it there. Now, in terms of this specific landing spot, I think you could make the argument there were other more beneficial landing spots, if you will. But the Cleveland Browns quarterback room has to be the weirdest quarterback room I've ever seen in NFL history, right? With Dylan Gabriel, too, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second. But that's why I bring up, if this is going to be an open quarterback competition, and Shedeur Sanders truly is one of the best signal callers in this class, he will have the opportunity to show that.
Well, you posted up an article over on CBSSports.com talking about the starting odds for Week 1 Browns quarterbacks. You want to run through those real quick and talk about the peculiar decision to draft Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, so this is listed at FanDuel Sportsbook, and I'm not 100% sure it's going to be available, this specific prop, to actually gamble on in the state of Tennessee. I think it's going to differ from state to state, and I had someone in the company in a different state send me these odds so I could do an article on it. So we've got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel, the most intriguing quarterback room in the NFL. The favorite is actually Joe Flacco, who won Comeback Player of the Year with the Browns a couple of years ago. He's at plus 116. Behind him is Kenny Pickett, who the Browns traded for earlier this offseason. And coming in at number 3 was not the quarterback selected before Shedeur Sanders. It's actually Shedeur Sanders at plus 370. And Dylan Gabriel, who, again, was a third-round pick, is plus 830, the furthest long shot to win this competition, which is pretty surprising.
Yeah, it is wild. I lost my mind when I saw Dylan Gabriel's name flash up on the screen. I will say this. I feel like Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, and Riley Leonard is a weirder quarterback room, in my opinion.
Okay, that's actually a really good point by you. Right? Daniel Jones, he may be the reclamation project. Let's reserve judgment after seeing what happened with Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Riley Leonard kind of brings that running ability as well. That'll definitely be one of the top quarterback competitions this preseason.
It will definitely be the weirdest for sure. We're on with Jordan DeJanie of CBS Sports and going around the NFL draft with him.
Well, Jordan, as much as I agree with you on the Shedeur and eventually the cream of the crop will rise to the top, I'm just interested, if he's running fourth string, especially a quarterback, guess what? I was a third, fourth string when I got there. I didn't get a lot of reps. I can't imagine the quarterback. So we're talking about 3 other guys. They're going to get the majority of the reps. How do you think they're going to manage through all of that with Shedeur being fourth, at least we know at the beginning of this process?
Yeah, you bring up a good question, because the one thing that we should talk about is how these 4 quarterbacks, they will not be on the Browns' 53-man roster. The Browns are not going to carry 4 healthy guys on that roster. So one of these guys, at least one in my opinion, is going to be cut. And that's what makes rookie minicamp, training camp, OTAs, everything going on behind the scenes incredibly important, but also interesting when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. So his reps, if you will, you're right. When we get to training camp and those mandatory practice sessions, maybe the bulk of those goes to guys like Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. But I don't view Kenny Pickett, for example, as a lock to make this roster. We saw that Cleveland declined the 5th-year option, which was incredibly expected because it was something over $20 million for 2026. But Kenny Pickett, I know they traded for him, but I can't sit here and tell you he's a lock to make this roster. Dylan Gabriel was a 3rd-round pick, but it's hard for me to imagine he would be a lock either. So when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, he is going to have to make a big impact behind the scenes and with the reps that he's given before we get to that training camp period.
Well, let's talk about the Titans quarterback room. Now you have Will Levis in there being a 2nd-rounder and kind of, still developing, I guess. And then we saw Sam Howell was the only trade on draft day. I mean, how do you think this is all going to play out for Will Levis? Do you imagine him being there at the end of training camp after preseason, or do you think they're going to try to find a way to trade him?
I would imagine that he's on the trade block right now. Maybe it's not a big surprise that he was not traded during the draft. That was kind of an interesting storyline, too. There weren't many trades for players during the draft, just Sam Howell, as you mentioned. But keep in mind that this new front office brought in 2 quarterbacks other than Cam Ward in free agency, right? Tim Boyle and Brandon Allen. These are 2 veterans that the front office specifically targeted and brought in. I think it's important that they brought in not just 1, but 2 guys who they want on this roster right now. That leads me to believe that Will Levis could potentially be on the trade block. Listen, if we were playing video games and this was Madden NFL and I was in control of the franchise, I would love to stash Will Levis and see if he could develop behind the scenes and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is that this was the guy who was given the keys to the car last offseason, and he was unable to get it running and keep it going. Because of that fact, with the locker room dynamics, I'm open to Tennessee potentially having him on the trade block, and for future draft capital, we'll see what he can fetch on the open market. But I don't know. Just in my opinion, I think it would be pretty surprising if he was on the 53-man roster.
Yes, and knowing, we're talking about trades, what the Giants were going to give up for the actual first pick, do you think the Tennessee Titans made the right decision with not trading the first pick and not taking Ward? Then that means with what was out there and reported that they could have gotten Hall for that first pick.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, and I need your opinions on this too, because with what was reported, I don't think that's market value for the number 1 overall pick. And of course, we didn't get all of the details when it comes to whatever they called a package of picks. I'm trying to pull it up right now. We knew that a future first-round pick was going to be in the running for it, but we didn't get the exact details. So it's hard to give a judgment based off of not having the exact picks in front of you. But I'll tell you right now, when I saw that report from ESPN, I didn't see that and say, yeah, that moves the needle for me. Tennessee should have traded down. I don't think that matched market value. I don't think that matched what the Chicago Bears and Carolina Panthers did a few years ago either.
Well said there. Well, now with free agency out the way and the draft, did the Tennessee Titans do enough to help Cam Ward be successful in its first season?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the infrastructure that Mike Borgonzi is trying to lay. I think they did a good job with some of the weapons they're trying to surround him with when it comes to Tyler Lockett, when it comes into bringing Xavier Restrepo, the undrafted free agent, which was actually one of my favorite moves of the quote-unquote draft, if you will. They drafted 2 wide receivers, a new tight end as well. So you can see that Tennessee is trying to lay the infrastructure when it comes to what they want the basis and the identity of this team to be. But with that being said, the only proven player out of the ones I just brought up was Tyler Lockett, and he's an older player who you hope can be a security blanket out of the slot. So it's tough to say, you know what, the Titans hit the draft out of the park, and they did a fantastic job. I'm really intrigued to see how some of these younger wide receivers like Alec Io Manor, I hope I said that correctly, and DK can perform as well. These are some speedster guys, some bigger perimeter threats. So, of course, there's upside with them, but I don't know if I'm going to sit here and say the Titans absolutely crushed the draft and they're going to be in the running to make some kind of run.
And lastly for me, your guy, Aaron Rodgers, he's going to the Steelers, right?
I don't know, man. Will Howard. Will Howard is the new quarterback.
He has to be.
City, right? I mean, like I've been saying all along, the general thought is that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up signing with the Steelers. There have been reports coming out of Pittsburgh saying that he's been, sniffing around some country clubs where he can golf in his free time and things along of that. But I mean, I think that eventually it probably gets done, but it is kind of interesting with the Steelers taking Will Howard in a very thin quarterback room because it's no guarantee Rodgers ends up signing. What if he ends up retiring? He's an older player. He admittedly has a lot of things going off the field and the inner circle and all the crazy stuff he talked about on Pat McAfee. So, I mean, I think you're right. I think Aaron Rodgers ends up signing with Pittsburgh, but if not, then we have another interesting quarterback battle to dissect this preseason.
We've seen players come out of retirement before, but we've never seen 51-year-old players come out of retirement. Hunter Renfrow reveals why he took a 1-year hiatus from the NFL before making his return. So he's joined the Panthers. Talk about his journey from last year to this year and why he took the year off.
Yeah, so we talked about this story a couple weeks ago. with Hunter Renfrow trying out for the Carolina Panthers and his old Raiders team, which drafted him back in the day. You got to love that he is returning to Carolina because people around those parts remember him as a Clemson legend. So he's going to have an automatic fan base when he shows up for those mini camps and things of that nature. But we didn't know that Hunter Renfrow left football because of a health issue. He revealed that he was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, which caused him to lose weight. He was plagued with fatigue and some high fevers as well. So he had to step away from football to get his body right. And after consultation with doctors for, I think, over the course of a year, he got the green light to return to the field. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can carve out a role for himself and be Bryce Young's slot security blanket, much like I talked about Tyler Lockett with the Tennessee Titans. But it's definitely the beginning of a new chapter for the Carolina Panthers with all the weapons they have around Bryce Young.
I thought the Seattle Seahawks made a really smart move, and it feels like after signing Sam Darnold to a multi-year contract, they decided to take a throw with one of their third-round draft picks on Jalen Milroe, the quarterback out of Alabama. He can actually sit and develop behind, because you got Drew Lock up there too, behind both Drew Lock and Sam Darnold. It feels very much like what the Eagles did with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts a couple of years ago, and that's turned out pretty good for the Eagles. Are the Seahawks trying to duplicate another Bird's plans over there in Philadelphia?
Yeah, 100%. And you should have heard how John Schneider talks about Jalen Milroe as a quarterback. They're excited to have this kid in the building. You heard all the reports about scouts and coaches dubbing him the best running quarterback prospect they've ever seen, even better than Lamar Jackson. I don't know if I would go that far, of course, but he's someone who has incredible potential. You could make the argument he's the most intriguing quarterback in this entire quarterback class because he has an NFL arm. He has the ability to go downfield, but he's not that accurate. And I feel like that's something you can fix. Go back and look at what happened with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills when he was beginning his NFL career. And then you factor in the dual threat ability that Jalen Milroe brings as a runner. He's obviously incredibly enticing. So with Seattle, you bring up a good point that it is a beneficial landing spot to learn behind Sam Darnold, someone who has worked in different schemes with different teams, had some highs, had a lot of lows in his NFL career, but also keep in mind that this contract that the Seahawks gave Sam Darnold, it's not long. It's not lucrative. It could even potentially be a one-year thing, hopefully more like a two-year thing, but it gives Jalen Milroe the ability to sit behind Sam Darnold and learn and pick up on how to be a more accurate quarterback, because I think you guys would agree with me. He's one of those prospects that has a lot of potential.
Besides what happened in Cleveland between all those quarterbacks and some of their other draft picks, what was the biggest surprise of the NFL draft weekend to you?
Ooh, the biggest surprise. Yeah, there was a couple picks that really turned my head. We talked about Dylan Gabriel to the Browns, but how about Pat Bryant, the wide receiver out of Illinois, going in the third round, number 74 overall to the Denver Broncos? Another one that caught my eye just because I'm one of the only people who ever watches Maryland football. That's linebacker Ruben Hippolyte going to the Chicago Bears in the fourth round at number 132 overall. That was something that no one saw coming. I don't even think he made the top whatever list of Dane Brugler's linebackers in the Beast, but he was someone who I thought was kind of impactful for a bad Maryland Terrapins team. So those were a couple picks that definitely turned my head this past weekend.
And lastly, real quick, Levis to the Steelers. How do you think that would play out? My man OG on there on the chat reminded me of that. There were some rumors of that as well.
Yeah, if Aaron Rodgers ends up not signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, then that would put the Steelers squarely in the trade market. And if they're in the trade market, then I think Will Levis could be a potential target for sure. With Will Levis, I mean, when we talk about some of his characteristics, I'm sure it kind of falls deaf on the Titans fans' ears, but he does have a big arm. He has NFL arm talent. I think he needs to get right in between the heads and be in a system where he can be more comfortable. But with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they kind of rebuffed the run game. They've improved that with Caleb Johnson, and Jalen Warren is back. But he also has some big targets to throw to on the outside with George Pickens and now DK Metcalf, a really talented, underrated tight end by the name of Pat Freiermuth that I really like as well. I think the Steelers would be somewhat of a favorable landing spot for someone like Will Levis if the Steelers decide to go that route.
The Steelers run it back with the 2024 Titans quarterback room. I love the sound of that. I love that for you over there.
Well, remember what he did against Pittsburgh, even though he lost at the end of the game.
That is true. That is true. All right, that will do it for us. We appreciate you coming on, Jordan, and coming up on a Wednesday. We normally have you on Friday, but we'll talk to you next week. Get caught up on everything going around the NFL since then.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, JD.
Awesome. Thank you. When we come back, we'll go to more of your phone calls, 615-737-1045, and we'll start breaking down the round two and three and round four prospects of the Tennessee Titans. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Blaine, what was the deal with those red jerseys back in the day? Because I remember seeing them all the time, and I'm like, man, those Titans jerseys look really cool, and I never saw y'all wear them.
I saw them in the stores.
Yeah. What was up with that?
Man, we were playing, I think, the Cowboys on Christmas Day, or maybe it was Thanksgiving. I can't remember. I think it was, Christmas. And, there was a lot of rumors that we were going to wear red jerseys. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of guys, me included, thought we were going to wear the red jersey. And they even told us that we weren't on game day. Like, it was like, no. And I still believed that, we're going to come in and change at halftime. I really believed it after we just smoked the Cowboys. Yeah. So, but we never wore them. That was just, marketing, and they were all out in the stores, and a lot of people bought them. But
I mean, a ton of people buy them.
I really
still
believe that.
see them out in the wild at games once in a while. And I'm like, man, those would have been so cool.
That would have been awesome, man. I just loved it. I just knew it was going to happen. I made myself believe it. Half the team probably believed that we were going to wear those red jerseys.
So my big thing about jerseys and stuff, I guess if I have one strong opinion about jerseys, is that I wish that the Tennessee Titans jerseys were more in line with the Predators and Nashville Soccer Club color schemes. And I know that, Tennessee Titans came first, so really probably the Predators should have picked up the blue, color scheme. But I like it when all the professional teams kind of have similar color schemes and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's just my one opinion. And it's not a very strong one.
Right. I don't know.
I just don't have strong opinions about jerseys in general. But I just always thought, like, if you're going to do a rebrand or recoloring.
Right. So I'm trying to think of, like, hockey, Detroit Red Wings and Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they're the ones that don't either. But, like, you go look at the Pittsburgh, all of them match.
That's right.
New York Rangers have the blue and all that, like the Giants do.
Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
What do you think there, Jack?
Most don't match. If you really look at it, like the Cavaliers, the Guardians, and the Browns don't match.
The Pacers.
They kind of are in the same family, though.
Well, Pacers both have blue with the Colts, but not the yellow.
Right. But to me, like that, Cleveland and and all them kind of go together.
Not really. It's orange.
Think so.
It's orange, maroon, and navy. Those are the primary colors for those three teams.
Well, brown. I mean, I consider the Browns having brown, and the maroon kind of look the same.
I see you trying to make me feel.
That's a really pretty maroon for you to say it's brown.
Oh, I don't think it's a good-looking maroon at all.
But that would be cool, though, with your thought process.
Yeah.
No doubt. I would kind of like that, too.
Yeah, I just think it would be interesting because we see so many blues and variation of the blues and all this kind of stuff. I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of over it, I guess. Not only do I want to refresh, I just want to, like, a massive overhaul. 615-737-1045 is the number. And Blaine, we're about to talk about the day 2 and round 4 prospects. We were talking about Femi Oladejo. We are going to talk about Kevin Winston, Io Manor, Helm, and
DK.
Kymir. I knew I was going to mess it up. On the way in yesterday, I said Chimere DK 30 times out loud in the car because I'm tired of calling him Kymir DK or Kymir Dyke or all this stuff because I'm just so conditioned for it now.
I learned when you said it, I said, oh, great. That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, to me, is like...
Jackson always tells me the wrong name. I don't know. He's a joke or something.
So, I've been wanting to, talk about these players. But as far as the 3 players in round 4, Helm, DK, and Io Manor, who do you think is the most important for Cam Ward to find a connection with in year 1? Like, who is going to be the most important? Besides Calvin Ridley and all those other guys.
Right, with the guys on the team. Well, you're just talking about the young guys. So you're talking about, the Stanford kid, the Texas kid, and the Florida kid, right?
Yeah.
Man. Well, it's really hard to say, to be honest. I know a lot of people say it's easy because the tight end is supposed to be the guy because he's the easiest throw, easiest read. He's the closest guy. And sometimes that does work out. But sometimes it's about the guy you develop chemistry with.
Right.
I don't know where DK may be. He may be the fast slot. Remember I said he's a faster Tyler Boyd. So he could end up being the guy. You just never know. I would probably bet it would be one of those two, but you never know. Upside, I think the Stanford kid, you just don't know where he can go. I think he's a guy that will be just okay in year one, and then as time goes on, because he's got an NFL body, and he's a great possession receiver, and then he could take you downtown too. So, you just don't know. And how will they be implemented? Let's first not forget.
Right.
Lockett, Van Jefferson, guys who have experience in the league. We could talk about, one was kind of a, Pro Bowl player, one's a journeyman, but yet they have experience. So I think they brought those guys in because of their leadership and their makeup of who they are, and how much are they going to help them along the way and speed up that process.
Right.
And so we got to not forget these veteran guys who play in the league. There is something to that. Now, how much will they play and how much juice do they still have, especially Lockett? I think he's got some juice, but then, okay, halfway through the season, does he start slowing down? And then you start implementing the young guys more and more and more. Or do you start implementing them during the season? That way they have a longevity there with the veterans.
Well, you would think that you would want as many chess pieces available to you as possible. Now, I thought today, this Mina Kimes and Brett Coleman were talking about it on her podcast, but they were talking about they don't have a true number one. The Tennessee Titans do not have a true number one wide receiver.
I disagree with that.
Do you think Calvin Ridley is a true number one?
On this team?
On this team, yes.
On this team, he is.
Yeah. On this team, he is, for sure.
I mean, yes.
But they're talking NFL level.
No, but at the same time, you got to deal with what's on your team.
Yeah.
He is the number one guy. If they bring somebody in who's better than him, okay. But right now, he is the focal point to me. That's how I would do it based off of who's on the team. And they did it last year. When they start focusing on him, more so,
the offense moved better.
It did. And so, do
you think this is very set up for a true point guard kind of offense, or do you think this is setting up to be Calvin Ridley's or one, and if he's not open, find someone else real quick?
Well, I just don't believe in that premise.
Okay.
I believe in let the defense and the coverages dictate who gets the ball.
Gotcha.
And then you go through your progression, because that's how you want to teach the quarterback. And now he's going to lean into some guys sometimes. I think that's what Levis did a lot, especially with Hopkins. You get your guys who you trust in a little bit more, and that'll happen over time. But naturally, the focal point, I think, would be Ridley with all these pieces, which will make it easier for them. But with you saying all of this, Gunnar Ham, the tight end, has the easier way to the field. And I'm going to say that because I think he could potentially be the number one guy even coming out of training camp. So the other two gentlemen, I don't know if they will be on the field immediately.
Right.
See, so that will lend to, Gunnar Ham probably having a better shot. But you got to let the progression reads take you where he should throw the football. That's how you actually want to teach a quarterback. And then he'll start leaning into guys he can throw the ball even though they are covered on site, and then, force the ball, back shoulder throws and those type.
A lot of people keep bringing up Xavier Restrepo's name, and we're going to talk about him when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Did you know Eurofix has a very different business philosophy? They staff all their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready for whenever emergency pops up out of nowhere. So have you ever noticed how hard it is to get a right now appointment for a vehicle repair? Some dealers can be more than 2 weeks out just to get a freaking appointment, but not Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without the dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car right now. So if you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, then call Eurofix. And owner Aaron Stokes says, we will never be too busy for our customers. We're here to take their pain away, and we mean right now. And Eurofix repairs all European cars, and Eurofix says yes to speedy repair when others can't or won't. Family owned for 26 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. Always done blazer.
It is 2:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, the league has fined the Atlanta Falcons $250,000 and Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich $100,000 in response to the prank call made by Ulbrich's son on draft night to Browns fifth-round pick Shedeur Sanders. In other NFL news, the Baltimore Ravens have picked up the fifth-year option on safety Kyle Hamilton and declined the fifth-year option on center Tyler Lindenbaum. Hamilton, a 2022 first-round pick, was a first-team All-Pro selection in 2023 and has made the Pro Bowl in each of the last two seasons. In NSC news, the team promoted Mike Jacobs to president of soccer operations along with his general manager title and extended his contract through 2028. Jacobs has been the GM of the club since 2018 before NSC's move from USL to MLS and is now the first president of soccer operations in the club's history. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. Before we get into Xavier Restrepo, because I do want to talk about him real quick, 100 men or 100 people versus one gorilla. I think we all agree once that one gorilla crushes the person's skull in their hands, it's over. Because ain't nobody going to try again.
They're all running.
Yeah.
99 of them.
Now,
So
here's
if
the
I'm
real
running to
question.
99, I'm going the other way. I'm going to make sure
Yeah.
I'm last and I'm gone.
Yeah, you're gone. Someone said that they would try to kick the gorilla in the privates, and I'm thinking by the time your leg gets even close,
Oh, my God.
that gorilla's going to snatch that leg up and swing you around to kill the other people in the vicinity.
All right,
Like you're a weapon.
You guys are smarter than me on, like, how is the gorilla so strong eating vegetables and weeds? No meat. No protein. What is he doing to make him so strong? Should we all be eating what he's eating?
Maybe that's what we need to do instead of the paleo diet, the gorilla diet.
All I know is that the thing's terrifying.
Here's the thing. Here's the real question.
What is going on?
Yeah, here's the real
Somebody
question.
come
for
call
you.
in and educate me on
Yeah.
that one.
Here's the real question for you, Jackson. We're asking this to you because me and Blaine have already talked about it. 100 Titans media members versus Jeff Simmons, who wins?
Jeffrey Simmons.
Easily, right? Easily. He is going to just eat our lunch. I mean, we do have Blaine and a few other former players.
I'm not back with. Remember, I called. We had Derrick Henry that one year. I said we have King and we have Kong. Both offensive defense. So, I am not messing with you. No, I wouldn't even done what Buck did. No way. No how last
Would you
year.
have peed your pants a little if he came?
No,
you
I
like
just
that?
would have been running. Just running. I do not have time for that right now, man. No way. See, my neck is hurting just from looking at my phone and my computer all the time, so I can't imagine Big Jeff hit me.
All right. Okay, so Xavier Restrepo. And listen, I don't want what I'm about to say come off to say that I don't think he can make the team, or I don't think that I'm not rooting for him or anything. I'm rooting for Xavier Restrepo to make this team, but I think I just want to kind of put at ease one thing. The fact that Cam Ward likes him or has chemistry is not going to really matter when it comes to training camp, not because of anything other than those reps together aren't going to be there once OTAs and training camps happen.
Yeah.
Rookie mini camp, that will probably show, right? Because it's them three. It's Restrepo will probably be the starting slot with DK on the outside at the Z, and then Io Manor at the X, right? Restrepo is going to get the reps there. Now, maybe he changes their mind with how they do the reps come training camps and OTAs because he just goes insane. But when it comes to the training camp and OTAs, Restrepo's going to be with the catching passes from like Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle. He ain't going to be catching passes from Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No,
Do you
no,
feel
you're
like-
absolutely right on that. I was trying to pull up the Titans depth chart last year on the wide receivers there. And hey man, I have a lot of respect for Mason Kinsey, and
Yeah.
he showed a lot to me in his development year by year. So I don't know if he's
Okay, so they got a long list of wide receivers if you're ready.
right, but I'm more so in the ilk of Kinsey. I mean,
Okay.
I'm talking about the slot guy.
So we got Mason Kinsey, Jaquan Jackson, and I guess you would probably put Tay Martin there as well,
Oh, yeah.
I think. So those would be your three guys besides Tyler Lockett and Xavier Estrepo that would probably be fighting for that quote-unquote main slot guy.
So I think he's going to be fighting for just even getting reps, being, somewhat, fourth guy on that list just coming in. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. I remember when I evaluated, when I said he was after fifth round, and what I'm getting at is I thought it wasn't just because he ran the fast 40, it's just how he looks, his body type. He was thick. Now, it could tell he puts time in the weight room. I thought he put too much time in the weight room, and he may figure that out, and that's weird to say, but guess what? My rookie year, we go to minicamp, I go, uh-oh, I'm already strong enough. I realized I need to be quicker because I thought, I got to get bigger now. I'm in the league. I got to boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. No, I need to be more pliable and be able to move. And I think that's the mistake he's not. And so I'm hoping he realizes that sooner than later. He looked more like a running back when he was running. I mean, he built up now.
Yeah.
And I think he needs to lean out and look more like a wide receiver in the National Football League in the slot and let his quickness and his feel for the game still be his thing, and that's his niche, and I think he's really good at that. So
I love how he attacks the zone. I love how he attacks coverages. I just worry again, and this is a big worry for first rounders all the way to undrafted free agents. When you get into the league, you're playing against everybody that's in the top 1% of athletes against coverage. Because, I mean, versus what you're facing in college. Because what you're facing in college is not the same.
Yeah.
They're not only faster, bigger, stronger, they're also smarter, right? Because you're going to be going up against, especially the slot corners in today's NFL. They're some of the smartest athletes I've seen play the game because they have to be able to navigate through traffic, have to be able to follow wide receivers of all different kinds of sizes and abilities. And that's going to be a tough thing. It's going to be really tough, not impossible, but really tough for Xavier Estrepo to break through for that final spot if he can't find a spot for himself on special teams. And he does have return ability and return experience, but does he have the speed? But will say this, Blaine, now that we're kind of talking through it, you bring up the running back build. We know that, maybe the running back build goes better with the kickoff returns, but he just doesn't have the speed. And so, it's like you get to a point with Xavier Estrepo and you're like, well, this could work, but he's got to do this. Or this could work, but then this. And so it'll be really interesting to see his progression. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of work off the field with Cam Ward in this offense. It's going to be an uphill climb for Xavier Estrepo to make this team. It's not just a given that, hey, he's buddies with Cam Ward, he's automatically going to be on the final 53. He's definitely going to have to earn that spot. And I hope he does because I do like what he put on tape the last 2 years.
Yeah, he could turn into, the Mason Kinsey of the new era early on just to get his feet wet to get into it. How tall was he? Because he looks short on the field. And here's what I see when I watch him. He never had to deal with someone in his face. He was always getting free releases. He has a great feel for zone. I mean, it's almost, so I'm interested to see if he's like a 5'9", 8 guy who, you can get smothered and not seen in the National Football League because the guys are so much bigger. So
He's just a smidge under 5'10" and 209 pounds.
Right. See, and 209 pounds.
Yeah.
Now, he needs to be more 190. And just think, then speed may not be a question.
There you
we
go.
all know he's explosive. He come out of his breaks and everything else. But every time you watched him, he never really pulled away from people when he caught in the open field. He was getting caught. And that comes up. I don't know if he's a 4'7" guy, but guess what? There's a guy named Bolden. He played for the Cardinals and different teams after that, the Ravens. He ran a 4'7".
Yeah.
But he went first round, though.
Well, and I do wonder how the flexibility of DK, Calvin Ridley, and then, of course, having Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson as well.
Yeah.
How all that plays into being that outside of Tyler Lockett, you don't really want him outside, but the other three that I just named play outside, inside. How much does that also hurt his chances? Like, people got to remember, well, there's also James Proche out here who it may earn a spot at wide receiver. And listen, they may very well be 7 wide receivers kept. That 7th this wide receiver battle is going to be so fun to watch and keep up with because you have 2 drafted players in DK and Io Manor. You have the fan favorite, I would say, at this point, the early fan favorite. Everybody loves Xavier Restrepo, and you know Titans fans love nothing more than an undrafted free agent wide receiver. History has told us that all the way back from like Trey McBride and a few others that the fans will fall in love with that. And then you still have Van Jefferson that they have signed. You got Tyler Lockett. You have Calvin Ridley. You know he's going to make it, and you know Tyler Lockett's going to make it. Van Jefferson likely does, but they all have positional versatility. Restrepo really doesn't. And does that versatility hurt you?
Look up Dylan Sampson, your guy from Tennessee. What was his measurements? We can see right here, 5'9", 5'10". We can give him that. 209 for Restrepo. And I said he looks like a running back when I say his build.
Dylan Sampson is 5'8", 200 pounds.
See? Also, Dylan Sampson should be playing wide receiver.
Yeah, he really.
See? So that's what I'm talking about.
So, like, Jadon Blue is a good example, I think, for you. So, Jadon Blue, who was the Texas running back, who a lot of people thought...
Number 23.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that maybe he could be a slot receiver. He's 5'9", 196 pounds.
See? And that's where Restrepo should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that guy has great skill set. The only thing I worry about him at running back is he durable? He can't be your guy. He has to be the change of pace guy.
Yeah.
And so that's why when you see his build, you go, and remember he took his shirt off when he ran that 40 when they were saying he was sick or injured or whatever, and he still ran it. I was like, dang, man, he's kind of a stocky built guy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see receivers look like that.
Yeah. And I will say this, Brinker in the F&M Bank chat, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, wherever you watch your Zone TV, brings it up too. All the guys that we just named, you know, Van Jefferson, not to mention just Bryce Oliver, but also DK, Lockett. They also have special teams abilities too. So that's another reason why this is an uphill climb. I'm rooting for Xavier Restrepo because if he earns the spot, he earned that spot. It was not given to him because of Cam Ward.
He's that kind of guy, though.
Yeah.
You would never count against a guy like him.
Yeah.
You can tell how he plays. You just don't count against him.
And to be honest, I will say this. You know, we had Arif Hassan on last week, and he talked about his consensus board. He was within the top 110 players, Restrepo was, on the consensus board. And if you're in that area, history has shown that you have a 30% chance to make the final 53. Now, every situation is different, but he does have a chance to make this final 53. He's just going to have to really work hard and earn it and make sure that he forces them not to cut him. Because this is for once in our lifetime, and it's been a very long time, this is the deepest wide receiver room the Tennessee Titans have had as far as how many veterans you have in here versus the drafted rookies and all this stuff. It would be real easy for Xavier Restrepo maybe to make the team the last few years, but this year is going to be really tough for him.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Tyler Lockett wants to show he's still got some juice. Van Jefferson wants to prove that he can be a starter in this league. These guys are motivated. So from all angles, even the young guys coming in that were draft picks. Right. You know, and so they're going to get their opportunities, though, because this is the first draft class, so they're going to give them that shot.
Well, we're going to speak on Femi Oladejo, Kevin Winston Jr., Io Manor, Gunnar Helm, and Chimere DK when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
You got all those names right, but not mine.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all four-season garage doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. I got all the rookie names right. And then I just mess up and go Blaine Bishop.
The easiest one.
name.
Yeah, I'm the Bishop.
Yeah,
Ooh,
the easiest one. I mean,
you
this
like
is an all-time draft name class.
That was impressive, by the way. You have to give him his credit.
It won't last long. I'm sure I'll mess up here shortly.
Would we like to relive it?
Yes. Do you got it? I don't know. Was I going to say Blaine Bishop? Blaine, I don't even know what I was going to say.
You were still thinking about the name. You're like, oh, I got him right. You were getting
Yeah.
excited that you got him, and you was thinking about that and then trying to say
Yeah. I don't know why it's also, I have a hard time remembering that his first name is Alec. Like, you could hear the pause because I'm kind of thinking about it.
Because he's Canadian, correct?
He is Canadian. He is from Medicine Hat, Canada.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the favorite places Jackson likes to travel.
Yeah, he told me that he loves to go up there and go whale watching up at Medicine Hat, Canada.
It's beautiful in the summer.
It's beautiful in the summer.
Oh, you watch the whales too? I would get scared, like if I got really close to a whale.
All right, now listen.
I am the scariest guy when it comes to like not understanding. Like, hey man, he may decide he just wants to eat this boat. So, I don't know if I want to be on this boat.
So, Stoney, he is scared of sharks, and now we're talking an irrational fear, where like even if a shark pops up on TV, he gets scared.
Well, no.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit of a wuss when it comes to it. I try to get him to go on
swimming, and then
come with me on
taking
boats.
the pictures of the whale. A friend of mine who did that just this or last summer, and I was like, "Oh man, you just seem so calm." And they were like, "Oh yeah, they were just swimming." I'm like, "No, he may decide that he's hungry and come get you.
Break through that."
What are you gonna do?" He said, "Well, I was there with the other people." So what you're saying is you hope he chooses them before you?
You push them back.
Has anyone here seen Jaws?
Yeah, but I mean, that's, it's just Jaws. You know who hasn't? Stoney hasn't.
Yeah.
Stoney, the movie guy.
Hey.
Yeah.
I would be scared of a dolphin. I'm serious.
Really? I've swam with dolphins and like
me too. I've been on the backs of them on vacation and everything.
Did you let them push you up out of the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, but I still, if I'm, in a big pool of water and it starts swimming to me, I probably would think it was a shark and not a dolphin. That's just where my mind would go.
Yeah, the fin. The fin would freak you out. Little fin popping out of the water.
I would be like, hey, what is that? That's the first thing that would come to mind. I'm in their world, not my world. I'm not on land. So, I'm a chicken.
You're a chicken.
Yeah, I'm not doing any of parasailing. And I just watched today someone's belt break and then they fell into the water. And then they were like, "Are there any sharks anywhere?"
I got racked when I went parasailing, and my strap came loose or whatever a little bit, and I just racked myself. And I'm having to ride the rest of the parasailing excursion in utter complete pain. I'm surprised I didn't throw up, to be honest with you. All right. Femi Oladejo went number 52 overall in the second round.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't necessarily have beef with the player, but I do have a hard time thinking of what the tape process led them to thinking that this was best player available. Because that's what they said they were going to do is best player available. Now, whether they did that or not could be up to discussion.
Do we know all the players that play his position that went ahead of him and behind him?
Yeah, I can pull those
behind him.
I can pull those up here in just a second. The other thing is I look at and I go, a lot of people that have made excuses on behalf of the Tennessee Titans and media for this pick have said, well, it's the upside. They love the upside. And I've seen a few people, someone in the chat earlier actually just said something about like, Titans Husker said in the F&M Bank Channel, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, says, I don't see Van Jefferson making the squad. What is the upside of keeping a guy who hasn't really produced over a younger guy with upside? Now, Van Jefferson has produced at his appropriate wide receiver 3 level, right?
He's the NWI.
Right. And I look at it and I go, why do you have to sacrifice production and upside with this particular pick? And that seems like what they did. Now, full disclosure, Femi Oladejo, after the first 2 games of the season, switched from inside linebacker to edge. We talked about it last week where they said they just wanted him to think less and just attack.
That's his coaches.
That's what the coaches said.
So what does that mean to you?
That's kind of like what they said about Kenneth Murray last year. Remember how they said that they think that Kenneth Murray was in the wrong inside linebacker role, and this new role will allow him to just play purely on football instincts. It's
what did I say? Do you remember?
I do not remember, but I know
said
that we
I would
agreed.
just move him to just rush that.
That's right.
To
That's
make
right.
him not think.
Yeah.
And that means he's just not processing information fast enough, even though he's a freak of nature athlete. And so you put those guys in position where they don't have to think.
Right. And that's what they did. And he still overthought a lot because he was trying to break on tape. You could see that he was still trying to play linebacker at edge. He was trying to diagnose the plays, keep his eyes in the backfield, trying to figure out if his run or pass step, just going after the quarterback.
Right.
And so it didn't really work at the beginning. He got better. He improved, but it still didn't get there. But my question is my point is that at this particular spot, and as I pull up the draft order and all that kind of stuff, at this particular spot, I don't feel like the Tennessee Titans had to sacrifice production in a rebuild. Because everybody's like, well, this is a rebuild, so it doesn't really matter this year. This is not a pick for this year. This is a pick for 2026 and 2027 and beyond. It's not really a pick for this year. And I'm like, okay, but you're allowed to do a rebuild of a team and still draft productive players from college. You're not disallowed to do that, right? Like, so to me, I look at it and I go, I still think he was a 3rd or 4th round grade by my standards. That doesn't mean anything, but I have a hard time looking at the Tennessee Titans board, and I wonder what process led them to actually put him above players like
who all went after him within the next 10 picks.
So these are the guys that went after him. Mike Green, which we know probably why that was.
Yeah,
Mike Green, Ashton Gelati, Landon Jackson, Princely Manmielen, Jordan Birch, Josiah Stewart, Savion Jones, and David Walker went from 59 to 121 in that order. And so I do wonder, like, what you've seen in the NFL is that production plus athleticism at edge gives you the best chance of having a player that succeeds in the NFL. And now he has tape athleticism, doesn't show up all the time, but it does show up. But he doesn't have tape production no matter where he was lined up on defense. And now, granted, he only has like 10 games at edge, but this is a risky upside pick, and I just don't really understand why you had to go that with your 2nd round pick in a draft where you can find edge players with production and athleticism and experience.
Yeah. Well, take me through the process because I didn't see it live. When they moved back in the draft to get to 52, what players went ahead of them, and did they get nervous, and is that why they took them is what I'm trying to see.
Okay, so when they were on the board at 35, before they did the trade, Donovan Ezeraku, who a lot of people thought would go in the 1st round, was still available. So he was available. Then JT Tuimoloau was still available. Nick Scourton were available. So what happened was they trade out at 44, Ezeraku goes. 45, Tuimoloau goes. And then at 51, right before their pick, Scourton goes. So only 3 edge defenders went from when they traded back to when they drafted. So it wasn't a huge run. What happened was after this run, after they drafted Femi Oladejo, a huge run on the wide receivers they probably had on their board went as well.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of looking at it, and I'm like, I just don't understand how this particular player, who may be good, he has untapped potential, but why are you banking on untapped potential with a 2nd round pick on a team that is desperate for production now and production later? You can get both with a different player.
Yeah, and what player would that have been if it was you?
If it was me, I probably would have gone Landon Jackson. And maybe his medicals weren't that great, but I would have gone Landon Jackson, Princely Manmielen, Savion Jones and Josiah Stewart over Femi Oladejo. But I do think all those players are worth the second or third round pick that they were drafting that.
Yeah, they were drafted where you thought they would go. Well, I in my notes here, I thought he was a little raw, and that's what made me go look up that he played linebacker at Cal Berkeley, and then he moved even at UCLA. They thought they were going to still keep him there, and then they moved him there. I think he can be a value. I thought he would fit perfectly in a 3-4 scheme where he's standing up. He gets to rush the passer, but he also gets to drop and cover because he's aware, because he's always looking around to you said this, even when he was rushing. I'm like, what is he looking for? A chip block or something?
Yeah.
Because, Javon had to learn how to do all that because he was getting chipped after about 4 games.
And he came from safety, right?
Right. Well, safety in high school, then in college, he was a linebacker. But he was getting chipped, and he didn't even see him coming. They would ear on him, and he would deplete him. He was like, oh, man, I got to start look and see if the back is offset so he has a chance to chip me. So that was one thing. And so he was still adjusting to the position. I do agree that he has a lot of upside. And what made me really say this is I went and watched the Senior Bowl one-on-ones. And there were times he didn't look so good because he was thinking about the moves. He was trying to process the information. Those things have to become instinctive. Where you chop, rip, spin, or whatever it may be. It has to be second nature. He's not quite there yet. But I could say this. If he ever gets it, man, he could be pretty good because he is a nightmare when it comes to, he wreaks havoc. When he touches you, you go the other way.
I mean, he
got strong hands.
Oof.
Yeah, so there is development. Now, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with it, to be honest. I thought, man, can you afford to get another guy? But maybe they thought he would be better in another year through a year of processing information, a year with the quarterback, and that they have time and they believe in their coaches in their development of players. Now, it's on the player, too, and most of these guys need to go to a personal trainer when it comes to pass rush.
And to be fair, Oladejo did say that he is doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's at least taking the right steps to prove what he is doing. Yeah. But I just got to see it consistently because it did not show up consistently.
Yeah, you're not going to see it now.
Yeah.
You could see that it was a new position for him, but you could say, oh, man, because he would show glimpses with no moves in college. None. Besides, I'm going to just run around. I'm going to hate anything that moves. And then except when he's looking.
And when he's able to use his hands for the club move.
Yeah, it works.
But it works. But again, he doesn't do it consistently. It really is a unique tape study to go watch because you're like, what is he doing? Why is he not being aggressive? Why is he not just attacking? And it's because of that linebacker mentality. Right. That's a habit he's going to have to break at the next level because he can't have that hesitation and looking in the backfield at this level. He really does need to be the guy that just is blank
he
slate.
can drop now. I saw the guy dropping.
He is very good in coverage.
And tackle in space.
And he has good horizontal speed. Sideline to sideline speed.
Yeah. So I get the vision, and if you're trying to build, maybe they thought this was a better way to go, and they can buy themselves some time. Me personally, I probably wouldn't have thought like that.
Yeah,
I want the guy.
I mean, I guess the front office staff does feel like they have the time.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, the front office, not the actual coaches, right?
Yeah,
I don't know, but so I get it, but it was somewhat of a reach for me. I thought it was a little high, and I bet you that's why they moved back. Because they knew at 35 they couldn't take him. And maybe if they had their mind made up that they were going to take a pass rusher there, because it seems like they did, because they could have easily taken a wide receiver or some other position there.
Right.
That's probably what I would have done. I said initially in the beginning that I would have went D, and then I changed before the draft to wide receiver because I was wondering, if they can get an elite one. If you don't, then they decided to go another way. Because what was the history, I think, of second-round guys? They never end up becoming 10-sack guys.
Yeah.
And that's
it's
over
tough.
In the history of the National Football League in the draft. So I thought, I didn't even know that. You actually told when I said that.
In their rookie year, at least.
In their rookie year, right.
Yeah.
And so in his rookie year, if he gets 5 sacks, they're going to look at that.
That's very good because he's projected right now, a guy that does data for ESPN Analytics projected, he does this thing where over the course of the next 3 years, takes all this history, all this information and data. And it's probably not fair for Femi Oladejo because he only has like 10 games at edge.
On tape. Mm-hmm.
But they projected him at 6.5 sacks over the course total of the next 3 years. Now, that would be really disappointing. But if he were to show 5 sacks this year, coupled with maybe 30 pressures, because I think everybody needs to understand, Oladejo is going to be in a rotation. I don't think he's going to be just a flat out like Harold Landry starting, 60 snaps a game kind of guy. But if you can
Based off who they've signed, yeah, that makes sense.
And so I look at if you can get him to roughly 30 pressures and 6 sacks, that's a good start. 5 sacks, that's a good start.
4 or 5,
And it really is going to come down to how he handles the offseason. And maybe this is why they've done so much research into him. They've done a lot of research into his background, the people that he associates with, the players that he has played with, the coaches that have coached him. They've done a lot of research on Femi Oladejo. I mean, that's why I said I really hope they don't pick him at 35 because I think they really like the kid. And I was really worried that they were going to do that. But they have conviction about whatever research they have done, whatever they have decided inside that building. They believe in Femi Oladejo. I'm just very concerned because everything seems to be against this guy right now. But like most draft prospects, it's about fit and it's about how they handle being a pro. And from everything we've heard about this entire draft class, he should handle being a pro very well. So I get the upside. I understand why. I just don't agree.
Right, agree at this point.
And the philosophy.
Right. Okay, look at the other guy that was on the side. The guy who was the walk-on that went second round too, didn't he? Or did he go first round?
You talk about
49.
Carson Schweizinger, the inside linebacker for them.
No, he was rushing most of the time.
Yeah, well, he
rushed a lot
him
too.
and Kane Madrano, number 20, was the other guy that really caught my eye on a couple of plays. But yes, they used him in a lot of pass rushing situations.
They did in certain situations. So did he go higher than Oladejo?
Yes, he went the second round. So he was the very first pick, 33 of the second round to the Browns.
Hey, he stood out to me.
Yeah.
I mean, all honesty. But see, that may be already a finished product to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And then where, Oladejo can, he definitely can turn into, if he puts in the work, and obviously he's going to be a guy who's going to do that. They wouldn't have drafted him with the character. He could be a 10-sack guy over time, consistently, over and over. I would expect that starting to happen probably year 3. Do you have that kind of time to be patient? That's the thing. Or will it be, warp speed because the guy just work ethic is off the charts?
Maybe, hopefully it is, because really think about it real quick. The Tennessee Titans have Arden Key on the last year of his contract, Draymond Jones on a 1-year contract, Lorenzo Carter on a 1-year contract. Then they have Oladejo, and then they have Jalen Harrell, who is a 7th-round second-year player. So going into 2026, you need, guess what? The same amount of edge rushers you needed this year, too.
They didn't bring, well, he's not an edge, but Day is back too, right?
Yeah, Sebastian Joseph Day, and a 1-year deal. Yeah. So, when you start looking at it, you're going to be going into 2026. If he doesn't show a lot of promise, man, you're going to be looking really thirsty at the edge position next year. Because, you can't have – he has to produce to not normal second-round levels that you would expect, because we understand that he is a project. But even as a project, you have to see development and progress over the course of the season. And if we see that, that's a great sign. But if we don't see that – if we see him still making the same mistakes that he made on his UCLA tape this year, when he was playing
from the backfield, stopping and looking around,
then we're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, to me, I here's what you're really saying: the first and second round pick guys on this team, the way they are situated, should impact the roster immediately. Yeah. I think that's why you're sitting there saying, I would have went a different route.
If you were the Eagles and you made this draft pick, I ain't saying nothing.
He's in the rotate. Yep.
If I was an Eagles fan and they said the Eagles drafted Femi Oladejo in the second round, I understand the pick. He's a rotational guy. We'll see him in 2 or 3 years. But this particular team, it means a different level of expectations because you have nothing.
Yeah.
You have Draymond
holes-
Jones, Arden Key, then Lorenzo Carter, and we've seen that this team needs a pass rush. I still don't know where it's truly getting its pass rush from.
Yeah, he's not the answer for this season.
No.
That's for sure.
That's for
they
sure.
may be depending on some of the vets that they sign, who you see on the production and what they look like. I'm surprised their production wasn't higher, but I was impressed.
Yeah.
That one there, that means that they have bought in with Amy with approval that this is a true rebuild.
Yeah.
To me, that's what that says.
It's what it sounds like. They keep saying they have, but there's always that little voice in the back of your mind that says, but is she going to really buy in when she sees that the Patriots just beat them? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if that were to happen. So we'll see. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Last call for phone calls before 3HL takes over, as they are broadcasting live over at Geodis Park for the Big Orange Caravan. And at the 5 o'clock hour, 5 p.m. today, Mike Keith, Danny White, Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, Kim Caldwell will all be live and in person talking to the folks over at 3HL. All right. Kevin Winston Jr. And that one, I think, caught a lot of people off guard as far as Titans fans and stuff. But I really like the pick, and that is whereas maybe the value isn't there for Femi Oladejo, the value is there for Kevin Winston. Now, he was about like 90%. He did all the drills, or most of the drills. He didn't do the explosive or the agilities, but he did run. And he did all the safety positional drills as well at his pro day. But I look at him and I'm like, this is a pick. Again, maybe not a big impact this year, but next year with Amani Hooker on the last year of his deal,
Xavier
Woods has a multi-year deal, but he's a little bit older.
Oh, I thought he had 1 year deal.
Yeah, I think he has a 2-year deal.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, Mike Brown, the backup safety, has a 1-year deal. This makes sense. And it's a really good value pick. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that Kevin Winston Jr. didn't go in the second round, not just to the Titans, just in general. But I'm also kind of curious as to why Kevin Winston wasn't the best player available. That to me is where I think they were going for best value available. We kind of talked about that, trying to use a new term and not best player, because obviously edge rusher is a more valuable position than safety. But I really like his 2023 tape, and I liked what I saw on the one game I was able to watch in 2024 before his injury about this guy, because he's a true middle fielder safety. Deep, he lined up probably 20 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Great closing speed, a fearless tackler. He had 0 missed tackles in 2023. He did miss a couple of tackles in that opening game. But I do look at it and I'm like, this is a true middle of the field center fielder safety, and I really like what I saw.
Yeah, and obviously he knew too, because he had 2 years of eligibility left after even tearing his ACLs. There's some bloodlines there. His dad played at James Madison, so football as well. So it's in the blood. I thought he was really a natural, instinctive player. And I'm talking about from the third level defense, from deep middle, as you're talking about, to even in the box, to even covering. So he was multifaceted. So I really liked his upside. I think if he would have stayed in, he would have been a first-round pick when you're talking about value. So I think a lot of people were surprised. I think it's just because he tore his ACL, didn't play very much at all this past season.
Two-way player in high school.
Yeah, so he was, he's pretty fascinating. I think you ease him in this year, maybe he's a dime guy or something like that, and then next year he kind of takes over, make sure he gets his feet wet, understanding everything, and then he'll be full tilt. Because I'm saying that all because your first year coming off the ACL, you move around and you're doing okay, but you gotta play a season and you start trusting your knee instead of thinking about how you're going to run, and then once that happens, then all of a sudden your instincts take over. So I think they did get value there. I really like what I saw on tape in 2023. I mean, he was impressive. He's a 6'2", 205 guy that's lean and long, and he brings the hammer. He's a mean son of a gun, and he plays hard. So there was nothing I could really say anything negative about him besides he got injured. And so you're hoping that doesn't lead to other injuries. But, in this day and age, ACLs are commonplace, and those guys come back and just as good or even better. So we shall see. But his impact this year, I wouldn't say it was going to be as much as as a starter. But I think you would hope that he'll be a rotational piece as far as like coming in the dime packages, because he could do a lot of different things.
Right.
So I like that.
I really like the pick just from it fills a hole that not many people are really talking about. We've talked about it a lot on this show about safety.
Yeah.
And how Amani Hooker, is on the last year of his contract, and, he's played very well, and he's started to become more durable. He didn't start off that way. but this provides you a little bit of flexibility in whatever may happen this year with the money.
You'll get a first-round guy going into next year, said this year, because that you see, oh, man, he is a heck of a player now. So you're hoping to get that after year. So, see, to me, once again, just the second and third pick, these guys aren't going to be relied on to be major factors, but they will be factors in getting their feet wet, and then eventually come in their second year, they should be starters.
No penalties ever called on him.
Yeah.
Okay, gotta like that, especially with some of the penalties that you'll probably have to eat with L'Jarius Sneed and Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Because of they get grabby. I do like his build, too, because he is 6'1", almost 6'2", 215 pounds. I mean, he is he carries it very well. Track athlete in college or in high school, so track athlete there. I do think he has to work on his play recognition. So play action, he's a little susceptible in a couple of the games that I watched. But overall, he has the athleticism to make up for any missteps he may make. Because that was the biggest thing. When you watch that 2024 tape, West Virginia is who they play. Yeah, when you watch it, he's like so far down or back behind the line or past the line of scrimmage, 20 yards upfield, center field. And he's closing on a wide receiver screen like nobody's business at the line of scrimmage. I've never seen closing speed like that in a long time from a college player. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. That's 20 yards you have to cover in a short amount of time.
That's why I said he was very instinctive. That's what I said. His processing of information was really good. And it's hard to see when you see a great athlete that also processes. Yeah. Then now you got something special. And that's why I said he will at 1 year, and then he'll be turning into this guy's a first round pick. And that's what he's going to look like. He may sooner than later because we don't know where his knee is at. He ran a straight line 40. I don't know what he ran. I think he ran a 4.5 or something. But, he will show that once he gets his agility and lateral quickness back, and probably even better because he'll be working on all facets of his lower body.
Good in man coverage, too.
Yeah, I mean, versatile player. He was impressive. Yeah,
to me, I look at it and I go, he's going to be that guy that's like probably has every other safety and defensive back written down somewhere that went ahead of him. And he's going to come in with a big chip on his shoulder and just really wreck shop. And everybody's going to be like, man, I can't believe the NFL let Kevin Winston fall to the third round.
And here's what I bet will happen. You tell me, because you were watching the draft and, covering it. Third round, they thought, oh, man, we can't pass up on Winston Jr.
Can't.
But they wanted to take a wide receiver.
I would say so, but those wide receivers went right ahead of them.
That's why they got nervous when they got to the fourth.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, we got to get
our guys.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about those guys tomorrow here on Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. 3HL's up next. You're listening to 105 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.